Welcome everyone to the Wordsmith UPSC channel. In this course, we are covering entire ethics in 11 hours and it is absolutely free. Please subscribe and join the Telegram channels for regular updates and getting feedback on your answers, which is very important for your growth and enhancing your answer writing skills. And in the last lecture, we saw what is the syllabus of ethics, integrity, and aptitude, which is part of the GS4. And here we are going to discuss the first topic. And I request all of you to please pay attention and keep making your notes as discussed in the first lecture. And if you have not seen the first lecture, please do watch the first lecture because it will give you an overall analysis of the syllabus, what how to study the subject, how to approach this course and everything. So what is ethics? This is the first question which comes to my mind when I see the topic of the paper, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude. So it is a philosophical discipline of study. This is the number one point. And philosophy means a way of life. What is the way of life? It is a philosophical discipline of study, and it looks into the idea of how to live your life, how to conduct your life. Coming to the definition part, it is systematic approach to study, analyze, understand and distinguish matters of right and wrong, good and bad. So it is a systematic approach. It is not that randomly we have assigned something as right and wrong. It is basically a systematic approach to study, analyze. It is rational study. It is not just that based on our beliefs or some scripture or anything we have decided what is right and what is wrong. It is a rational systematic study, and in which we distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So ethics is a guide to right and wrong. So what is the right decision, what is the wrong decision? So for example, if I come to a question, is lying ethical, is killing ethical, is giving money to a beggar ethical? So for these are the sample question I have taken, and I discussed one of them in my previous lecture also. So lying is ethical or not? Ethical means, is lying right or wrong? That is the question which is there, and we want an answer to that. And ethics, which is a systematic approach to study, analyze and understand this, will try to answer this. So is lying ethical? So if for example a child is lying, and another example I gave in the last lecture, child is lying, is it right or is it wrong? Then you will see why is he lying. He is lying about what? Then if I come to another question, soldier, a soldier is lying to save his country in an enemy territory. Is it right or is it wrong? Okay, so we analyze the situation, we analyze what is the context, and then we reach a answer, then we reach an answer. Okay, so this is all about ethics, and this is how uh, we are going to analyze it. And there are various approaches of analyzing this, of understanding this and distinguishing between right and wrong. So we will study those approaches, we will study those related concepts. Is giving money to beggar ethical or not? So you must have seen at various railway stations it is written that don't encourage beggars. Okay, but is it, for you it may be an act of compassion, but it is law or rule is saying that don't encourage beggars by giving them money. So what is beggar doing out of that money? What is beggar doing out of that money? Is he really needy, or how he is utilizing that money? Is he part of any syndicate? And you must have heard a case where beggar was a millionaire and he was staying in a very good hotel and he used to come and beg. So all these are questions. So another example of where begging may be wrong is, for example, if you come across a case where everyone is giving money to beggars. Okay, but then you find that okay, there is child trafficking going on, and children are being brought from villages and from tribal areas, and they are involved, and they are being involved by a group, or they are involved by some criminal elements into begging. They are forced into begging because we were giving too much of money to the beggars. So it becomes a business. Then is it right or is it wrong? So all these questions we will discuss. The what are the elements in these questions? For example, in the last thing we discussed, the end result is not good for children. For overall, it may be good for a child who is really needy, but at large, if you see, it is not good. Here we have what the famous trolley problem. What if we have to make a choice as a driver? So this is basically a trolley and you are the driver, or you are the person who is handling this. So basically a trail, this is coming, and on the railway track there are five people lying, and you can change the track of the train and you can kill one person instead of four persons or five persons. So what will you do in that case? And if you say that okay, I will kill this person, then what is the reason? And if you say no, I will continue this on the this, then what is the reason? So ethics is not about just okay, I will do this, but what is your reason? If you say no, I will continue this, then what is your reason? So all these things need to be discussed. If we say that we will go and we will change the track because it will lead to less number of lives being lost, this is a good reasoning. So basically you are saying that quantity of the good you are saying is the right thing to do. So if something you are doing and it is leading to less damage, then it is a good thing. So now suppose there is a case where you went to a clinic just for a regular checkup, and suppose there are six persons who are dying there and who are in need of an emergency help. For example, he needs some kidney, he needs some eyes, something. So then by this logic, is it right to use this person and donate different organs to different persons so that you save more number of lives and you kill this one? Is it right? Is it right? By the same logic, it should be right. So this is the basic fundamentals of ethics and study of ethics, that you choose the right approach and then you reach a conclusion. In this case it may be wrong because it will create an environment where people will stop coming to regular checkups. You have to see if it is rational inquiry or not. It varies from context to context, and there are various approaches by which we study this subject. And this is the case study: auto driven vehicles. If such a problem is encountered, what will be the ethical thing to do? Auto driven vehicles are coming, and what will the vehicle choose? Suppose your brakes fails and you have to kill someone, or you have to, will you drive it on the footpath where one person is there? Will it be fine? Will it be ethical if you take the car on the footpath? Will it be fine? So all these questions you should be thinking about them. Okay, this is the basic idea about ethics, and I think it is very clear that ethics is a systematic approach, is a philosophical study, and is a rational systematic approach to understand and find out what is right and what is wrong. It is the guide to right and wrong. So these are the basic factors to consider. So your argument should be logical, rational. It is not based on belief, what you feel. It is not about what you feel, what you think. It is should be logical. Okay, it should be rational. For example, if you are saving one person, then it is rational. Quantity of damage is less in choosing one person, and that is why I will change the track. On the other hand, if you say that for the medical checkup guy and save five lives, then your argument is again the same, that you are maximizing the number of people who can be saved. On the other hand, if you say no, I will not choose that person and I will wait for the donors to come in and then donate those organs who are not needy, or etc etc, then this should be your argument. Okay, it is the duty of the doctor to save everyone. This is not the duty of the doctor to just save five people or one person. It is the duty of the doctor to do to give a service, to provide a service for which a patient has come. It is not for the doctor to decide, okay, I will, he has come for a TB checkup and I will see if his organs can be used, and I will give it to other person. So this is the duty of the doctor. So if you see, the argument is that the doctor's duty is not to save one life or to prefer one life over other lives. The duty of the doctor is to try to save every life, and the person has come for medical checkup, and he should be provided medical checkup. So the line of thought, the line of arguments is very different in the case of the medical examination, and the line of argument is very different in the case of the trolley problem. So this is what I am saying, that you have to be logical and rational in your arguments. The other thing is, which needs to be considered, is that it is not static. That means ethics is not static, it is changing. It is changing with time, it is changing with context, it is changing with the place. Even geography dictates what is right and what is wrong. For example, you are cutting trees, but for what you are cutting trees is important. If you are cutting trees to make a railway line for industrial growth, who will benefit from that? If you are making a dam, who will benefit from that? Where will the profit go? So all these things, you need to analyze all these things, you need to think from various dimensions. It is not that this is correct, this is wrong. Building dam may be right if it is to provide electricity to a village, but if it is leading to submergence of a village without providing any rehabilitation, then it is wrong. So there are different arguments, and you should be rational, you should be logical in your arguments. So these things, when asked to students, that in the case studies they just write, okay, this is the my answer and I will do this. No, you have to rationally support it. You have to argue for various reasons. Okay, I will do this, but there are problems in this. If this happens, if there are uh, hindrances from the locals, if there is a problem of submergence, if there is no rehabilitation, I will not go with the dam, I will see for alternate solution. But if any of these problems are not there, then you can say, okay, I will consider building a dam. Role of emotions in practicing ethics. So what is the role of emotions in practicing ethics? Basically, as I said, emotions do play a role in deciding your arguments, your background, from where you have come, what was your childhood like, what is your upbringing like, from what social background you are coming, from what economic background you are coming. All these things will play a role. It is not that there is a fixed rationality. Obviously the rationality will bring you into the picture. There should be a choice. For example, if we consider nuclear bombing of Nagasaki, so many people argue that this is not wrong because there was no way that Second World War was going to stop. And this bombing stopped the Second World War and it saved a lot of lives. But here they had many options. They could have explored many options, and there was a choice. That is why it is considered wrong that nuclear bombing was wrong. But in some cases, you don't have a choice. And if you don't have a choice, then the question of right and wrong does not arise, because there was no choice in that case. It was not conscious. So it was not conscious decision. And that is why a child line is different from an adult line, because a child may not have many choices and he is just reacting to many things, he is not having any choice. So we cannot judge that from the angle, from the prism of right or wrong. And that is why these four factors are important, and you should consider these factors when you are deciding anything. Is it right, is it wrong, even in your life, in your exam, in your case studies, and everything. So I hope this is very clear. So now we come to the types of ethical inquiry. So basically ethics, let's assume ethics as a subject, and there are many ways to study that subject. For example, plants. So you can study the internal specification of plant. Okay, there is a fruit, there is a stem, there are inside food is being transported and everything. Then you can study, okay, plants and their interaction with the environment. They take CO2, they give oxygen. And then you can study also what is the geography of plants. For example, you can find rainforest in the equatorial and region. Then you can find deciduous plants in the tropical region. You can find pine trees in the temperate region. So you are studying plants, but you are making different inquiries. So just like that, in ethics also we have normative approach, we have meta ethics, and we have descriptive ethics. So these are the three branches, and we will learn one by one. So normative ethics, norms. Normatives come from the word norms. It aims to decide or prescribe values, behaviors, and ways of being that are right or wrong, good or bad. So it decide or prescribe. These are the keywords here. This will tell you that this is right and this is wrong. For example, it will say peace is right, violence is wrong. It will say stealing is wrong, helping others is right. So for example, if you see Buddhism or Jainism, you will find these prescriptions, these values, a middle path. So middle path is a value, and Buddhism is based on that. For according to Buddhist, middle path is the right thing to do. The do's and don'ts, the values which you need to follow in life, which are right and which are wrong values, which are right behaviors, which are wrong behaviors. So helping others is correct. Okay, this is one thing. But then the argument will be helping others is correct because, okay, so these are the things. Then the second is meta ethics. So meta ethics is basically concerned with understanding the language of ethics through an analysis of ethically related concept. It analyzes the terms, meaning of the terms like good, happiness. If you say helping others is good, it will not analyze this helping other, it will analyze good. What is good? What is happiness? For example, if you are giving someone food to eat, it will bring them happiness, but they will say no, it will not bring them happiness, because you have not defined happiness. What is happiness? Food cannot bring happiness. You must have heard these arguments. Money cannot bring happiness, because happiness is not something which can be achieved by some, some physical needs, and happiness is much more than that. If you say violence is bad, then they will say what is bad. So if normative ethics say that spreading happiness is ethical, meta ethics will argue what is happiness. Now then there is descriptive ethics. It is basically as seen from the term descriptive. It means it describes. It describes. Describe means like a commentary. For example, if they see a person who is helping others, then they will say that people generally help others and they are happy and they feel happy by helping others. It is not giving you any values, any behaviors to follow, any, they are not analyzing what is good and what is bad. They are just describing how people behave. That's it. Inquiry of ethics. So discovery based tries to see how people are actually behaving. So, as seen, normative ethics and descriptive ethics, what is the difference? Descriptive ethics basically observes and describes people's actual behavior, and this sets a standard for how people ought to behave. For example, they need to be peaceful, explain why people behave this way, justifies why people ought to behave this way. For example, as I said, for this approach will say that anything which maximizes happiness should be done. And this will explain, okay, people help others because they feel good about themselves. So this is the basic difference between these approaches. The behavior we exhibit define us. Our conscious choices of action define us. This is the difference between normative and descriptive ethics. So as I said, now we have come to the part, and this is the normative lens through which we are studying the subject. How to find what is ethical approaches, and as I discussed in the previous slides, that see, this is the different approaches of normative ethics on basis on which we are taking our decisions. So these are the various approaches. So basically the approaches are divided into two parts. One is consequentialism and other is non-consequentialism. So this is the word from consequences. So decides on the basis of our outcome. What is the consequence means what is the outcome of it. Non-consequentialism means character of the act, its intrinsic quality. It is not based on the outcome. Whatever is the outcome, it is these approaches are not looking at it. Okay, and these approaches are looking at the outcome. For example, in the trolley problem, one person is being killed and five-person is being killed. So we are looking at the problem. If you say that okay, one person should be killed instead of five, then you are looking at the consequence. Your action will be to change the route or not to change the route. Based, you're deciding based on the consequences of the act. Okay, so this will be fall into consequentialism. Similarly, non-consequentialism, it means in the medical ethics problem, it is the duty of the doctor to treat his patient, to do his duty and provide checkup to the person who is coming, and also try to save the life of the others. It is not looking at what will be the outcome if he is not utilizing the organs of the healthy person to save the lives of the five people. So you are not seeing here the consequences. It may lead to death of five persons, but you are not looking at the consequence, because you are saying though okay, it is the duty of the doctor. So you are not saying that doctor needs to save 5%. But if you argue that okay, doctor should take the organs of the single person and give it to five people because it will save life of five people, then you are a consequentialist, because you are arguing that consequences are important and you are deciding what is right and what is wrong based on the consequences. So in consequentialism, basically we have approaches like utilitarianism, hedonism, justice approach. In non-consequentialism, we have deontology, virtue theory, rights theory. So these are the different theories and different approaches. We will study these one by one. So now we will study what is utilitarianism. And utilitarianism, as it is clear from the word utility, utility means what is the use of, and ism means a philosophy. So an 18th century English philosopher, his name was Bentham. He propounded this theory, he propounded this approach to decide what is the right thing to do. And he says the right thing to do is to maximize utility, that is the balance of pleasure over pain and happiness over suffering. So, according to him, whatever is maximizing pleasure and happiness is correct. So if you see the trolley problem, in saving five people over one people, we are maximizing the happiness, we are reducing the suffering, because there are five people who will die and there is only one person who will die. So as per the utilitarianism, changing the track to kill one person is the right thing to do. The approach further says that all of human beings are governed by two sovereign masters, that is pain and pleasure, and we try to maximize pleasure. So this theory is basically based on the fact that human beings feel pain and pleasures, and in our lives we are trying to maximize our pleasure, we are trying to maximize happiness, and that is why it is always the right thing to do, to maximize pleasure and to maximize happiness. Thus, individually or collectively, to do things which maximize the pleasure is the right thing to do. So it is that in collectively means as a group, as a society, as a nation, we have to do things which maximize the pleasure, which maximize the happiness. And the maxim for this theory is that the greatest good for the greatest number. And by this, we come to the conclusion that anything which is of greatest good for the greatest number. So this is quantity based approach, where we are looking at everything in quantitative terms. But then there came a case. This is Queen versus Tom Dudley. This was a famous real incident, and if we apply this utilitarianism in practical world, what are the problems, what are the challenges we face, and how much is it relevant to the practical world? Let us see by this example. So there were four men who were traveling in a boat, and these four travelers confronted a storm and were trapped in the boat that was around 100,000 miles away from the land without sufficient food and water. After finishing their limited food, they were left with nothing, just the sight of water. Caught in a situation with practically no food, no water for 7 days. And Dudley proposed that one of the four men's life ought to be forfeited to save the life of other three by eating the flesh of the person who is forfeited. So Stephens concurred with the idea of Dudley, but Brooke refused to follow the idea, and the Richard Parker, who was forfeited, was not consulted about this idea. So Dudley ordered if they were not able to find anything to eat the following day morning, they will execute their plan by killing the 17-year-old boy, who was Richard Parker. So basically, they killed Richard Parker, and all of the three survived, and there was a trial which was instituted against them. So there were many questions which were raised during the trial, and one of them was, is it the right thing to do? First thing is that, is it legal to do that? So keeping the legal question aside, if we analyze just the ethical aspect of it, is it right to kill the 17-year-old Richard Parker to save the life of other three? And they were doing this at a time when there was a desperation to save their lives. And what do you think about it? So in this case, the questions which arise were, the boy was a 17-year-old. So basically, the boy was a minor. Secondly, his consent was not taken. So before killing him, his consent was not taken. And there is an assumption of one life is important to other. So these were the questions which came during the trial, and the judges saw those questions. But according to the utilitarian principle, it is right thing to do, because it is maximizing the good for the greatest number. It is the greatest good for the greatest number. So this thing is correct. But all these questions were raised, and these are the challenges, these are the shortcomings, limitations of the utilitarian principles, that it does not differentiate between the kinds of pleasure. It does not take into account the individuality, the individual rights of one person, and it quantifies pleasure, it quantifies happiness. So there is question that, is happiness of one person more important than happiness of other person? So all these questions came, and as said, but is it justifiable if we see it from the perspective of utilitarianism and Bentham? Yes, Bentham will say that yeah, they did the right thing. But what about these questions? So if anyone asks you the limitation of utilitarianism, all these are limitation of utilitarianism. And in this case, the boy was a 17-year-old, so he was basically a minor. And because the boy was ill, does it mean that his life was less valuable than the life of others? What if a ship sighted them as soon as they killed the boy? Will you be able to justify the killing then? Let us see some current examples and previous year questions. So during COVID, government imposed restrictions for the benefit of all and to maximize the good for all. So there were many people who were not allowed to travel, who have to wear masks, who have to take vaccine. So all these things are being done to maximize the good. So all these things are based on the principle of utilitarianism. Then redistributive approach of the government. So where you are taking taxes and distributing it in welfare schemes, that is what? That is maximizing the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Now there is a question. Utilitarianism is an effort to provide an answer to the practical question, what ought a person to do? Discuss. While answering this question, if we see, it is about discuss. So discuss means you will give positives, you will give negatives. You will discuss basically both the sides of the answer. This is basically ethics. Ethics tells you what should be done. That is what is right and what is wrong. And utilitarianism answers that question, that what should be done. It answers. Now when you are discussing, you will say yes, utilitarianism answer that question by giving the maxim that greatest good for the greatest number of people. So that is an answer provided, but at the same time it also has certain limitations, and which involves, as discussed previously, that it does not respect individual rights. It has questions regarding the consent. So all these are the questions which are there and which needs to be looked at, and then you will write that these limitations were corrected by other approaches of ethics and other philosophers who came after Bentham, and they rectified this and they provided a complete picture of what ought a person to do. Please do subscribe and join the Telegram channel and the Telegram group. You can submit your answers there. You can get feedback and personalized comments which will really enhance your score. So do subscribe, do join the Telegram channel and keep working hard. Be focused. Thank you everyone for watching the discussion, and I hope it is clear. And do submit your answers because you will benefit only when you write and get regular feedback. Also do subscribe the YouTube channel and join Wordsmith Telegram groups for regular update, case studies and example. Stay focused, work hard and enjoy.